What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Tigers TCG. Then let me tell you what I have here for you.
So guys, welcome back for real. Obviously I haven't been posting as much as I normally would. It's been what, 2 weeks now. It seems like I'm posting a video every other week, and I thought I would kind of get into it and to explain what's going on. Also, I wanted to really dig into the primary reason and give you guys kind of a Q&A. So what's going on? Well, as most of you probably already know, I now work at a shop called Tesoro. Now, the thing about it is that it is a permanent expo booth where every weekend I'm running over to the expo and working in a physical location. And then when I get back home, for the week, I'm, doing my online store as well as, doing my content for this, and trying to secure product. And then I also have, of course, my day job, right, where I spend most of my time. So it's a pretty packed week, and it's super hard for me to actually have the time to create something for you guys. And I do enjoy doing it, but I also enjoy having a little bit of me time, which now that I'm doing what I'm doing, there's no days off. This has been all gas for, I don't know, I would say, well, I mean, obviously I've been at the booth for a month now, right? So this is the 1 month mark, and I wanted to make a point to make this video, but it's just been progressively getting faster and faster and faster. In a lot of ways, it's also been slowing down. So what do I mean by slowing down? The market is beginning to cool off. A lot of us are seeing this, and that is translating into my online sales as well as my physical sales, which is kind of good in the end because it gives me a little bit of a reprieve to kind of recollect a lot of my stuff. I haven't been enjoying the hobby directly because I've been prioritizing what I can get for other things. So now it's kind of cool that I can go, pick up a little thing here or there where it doesn't really make sense to put it into the shop, right? Like, here's an example. Pick this up. It's a PSA 9 Charmander, and I'm actually going to be using this for a video in the future, but this is not something that is super crazy that deserves to be in the shop. I mean, it's a piece, but with things slowing down, it allows me to kind of pick and choose what goes on the shelf. So let's get into it. So I gathered together 10 questions that I feel are probably the most relevant. I've had many people ask me the differences and what it's like and how to get into it and all that stuff. So let's start with the first one, which is, what's it like running a Pokemon booth full time as compared to just being a collector? Now, I use the term full time because while the booth may only be open on the weekends, guess what I'm doing during the week? Like I said, I'll come home, but it's not straight home. I actually go back to the booth, reorganize, help expand. We've expanded the booth twice now in the last month. Okay, so the first expansion was, well, technically it was before I started, but I was there and I was expanding it with the owner Danny, and helping him out. And then that's when we came to the agreement that I would get kind of a more permanent spot there. But now we have a whole nother expansion coming to the shop, which is pretty exciting, and I'll definitely do a little video when it's all done. But that's one part of it. There's also inventorying the product, reorganizing things, cleaning it up, make sure it looks good. There's a presentation that comes with this. So it is, in a lot of ways, I wouldn't say full-time, but most of my time that is free is dedicated to this. So let's talk about the main differences, obviously, as compared to just collecting. I mean, the truth is that the amount of product that is thrown in my face all day, I'm becoming numb to already, and it's only been a month. There's so many different evolutions that I've seen from Prismatic. I've seen the Giratina a couple times. I've seen Bubble Mew a couple times. Whereas I was extremely excited to see these things. I go to the expo as a collector and be like, oh, dude, look at that. Look at that. That's so cool. And now I'm like, that's pretty cool. Yep, that is a nice piece. Should I buy it? Not always, and we'll get into that. So that excitement for those items has dwindled. Even pulling them myself, I've gotten a couple hits from the occasional packs I've gotten. It doesn't feel the same. So I would say that, if you're getting into this and you want to be, the in-person booth, be prepared to be overwhelmed and overstimulated with the hobby, right? Whereas a collector can pick and choose when to be excited. I don't get that luxury. Every customer that comes in is a new, exciting opportunity, and they should be treated as such, and they get the experience that should come with that. So if they pull something great at our little table, I'm happy for them, and I truly am. But it takes 100% energy, 100% of the time, and I didn't realize what that truly meant until I started doing it in person, and I noticed, starting to slow it down a little bit. And again, like I said, lots of different things that are equating to what I said earlier, which is slowing down. So that's question number one. Question number two, and that just goes into what I was just saying, how does the day-to-day energy of being at a physical expo differ than just doing online? So the day-to-day energy is pretty much what I just said. It requires you to have a lot more attentive, direct, I care about this thing all the time, and it never ends. You can take a little break to go get food or whatever, right? But whereas online, if I get an item that, I put up on the shop, that's it. It just kind of sits over. But it's not just like me looking at other people's cards. It's also them looking at mine and having to, explain to them why this one is worth picking up versus this one, and I have to make sure that I'm not bad-mouthing my own cards, you know what I mean? So I have to treat all of them with excitement and be like, hey, this is why you should really get this Zard from 151. He's got the no neck look. A lot of people don't like it. I think it's super cool. I like that it has a little stack, whatever it may be. You have to present it as if it was to be presented on a YouTube video, that kind of excitement, that whatnot excitement that you see people scream and everything like that. I don't scream, but you have to have that high energy. And when you're on an online store, you can just kind of relax. You can click and you can look, and that's the customer gets to go through, which means that's what I get to go through as a vendor. I just type in what it is, hit click, and it's done. Quiet. In person, it's a constant. Can I see that card? Can I see that card? Can I look at that one? Okay, no, I'm not interested in that one. Can I put that one back? Okay, and get that one? That's what it's like all day. And that's okay. That's what it signed up for. Everyone has a unique experience. It's pretty cool overall, but there is an energy level that has to be, basically, what's the word? Stimulated, super juiced. I gotta get steroids. You gotta be excited all the time. So it gets a little tiring, but again, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm just being honest about what it's like. So question number 3, which is, now we're getting into the next part, which is, do you find more joy or burnout in the setup versus just selling casually? I kind of got into that already. I wouldn't say that this is burnout. I would say that this is numbness to the hype. Okay, so when you're a collector and you're just enjoying the hobby, the hype is so infectious. It gets right into you, and you're looking at the new cards. You go, oh, I really want that one, right? I want it in my binder, whatever it may be. And now that feeling is kind of dwindled, and I can look at it from a more matured, do I actually want that Leafeon V-Star from Crown Zenith? Doesn't make sense to put it in, the shop or in my personal collection if I choose to, buy it out myself. You become much more selective, and the excitement of pulling that great thing, just like I said earlier, just isn't as much, and that should be something that is a cautionary tale for anybody who would be, thinking about entertaining this in the future. Absolutely give it a shot, right? But just understand that the burnout is not burnout. It's more of just a set, like you become, what's the word that they use? Your tolerance level builds up, and it takes something bigger to get you to go, you know. And I say this with a lot of other vendors too. They come over, and it's very business, and they're awesome people, very nice, very helpful. Everyone works together, but the actual excitement of the product does get sacrificed in this type of experience. So, just letting you know. Number 4, how does face-to-face interactions with buyers change the way that you price or present your cards? So for this one, it's really simple. When it's an online sale, the price is the price, and it's pretty much non-negotiable unless it's something extremely high where they're sending you messages, you're going back and forth, which most people are not doing. That's it. You just set the price. You occasionally check it when it's a market, you know, change. That's all you have to do. In person, everybody checks the price the moment they pick up the card, so you really can't not know the price because they're going to bring it up, and you have to have a lot more wiggle room and, you know, leeway with these things. So let's say that somebody likes a Charizard that's worth $200. Okay, if I put it on my shelf at 200, I'm gonna lose money, you know, compared to the market, because they'll talk me down, and I'm gonna give it to them. Why? Because I want their experience to be good. I want them to come back. I want them to have a good time. I want them to feel like they got something worth their time and of value to them, and I want them to be satisfied. And they're going to critique whatever it is. It can be something as small as a little white mark on the corner. They're going to bring it up, and they're going to say, hey, what'd you do? You know, 190, 180. And I'm going to go, I'll do 195, 190 for them, you know, because again, you're kind of selling yourself as much as you're selling that card. Online, not the case at all. The price is the price. They buy it if they like it. They don't if they don't, they move on. So I would say that presentation wise, how do you present the cards? You talk about them. You talk about, you know, do you like this card? Are you looking for this one? Is it a collection? You know, are you building up only Charizards? Or are you trying to collect this entire set, master set? What is the reason? And that also can apply to what I would do in the case of pricing. If someone says to me, I've been looking for this card, and they pull out their binder and they show me a missing spot, which did happen. I had a guy who was looking for a Dark Dragonite, and it was in a CGC slab. Okay. And he's like, I really wanted a clean one, but I don't want the slab. And so me and him got into it, and we started talking about the pricing and everything. And he says, hey, I just don't want to pay that price, you know, for the slab when my intention is to crack it and put it in the binder. I just want a clean copy. And I said, I totally feel you. You know, I looked through his binder, and I ultimately decided with that guy that I would take a little bit of a financial hit to my profit margin. I would still make money, but I would ultimately take the loss because what I got to be a part of was that guy's completion. You understand? I got to be a part of the memory of that guy in the future when he opens up that binder. You don't get any of that feeling when it's online. And that's one of the coolest experiences you can have as being an in-person vendor. I really enjoy that. I like the community aspects of it. So, this goes into the next question. You'll notice I'm kind of stacking the questions to lead into the next one. Number 5, are in-person buyers pickier, easier to work with, or more unpredictable than online buyers? They're not even comparable. They're much, much pickier, but they're also much, much easier to work with. A lot of the times I'll put a price up on something, and you know, they've been walking around this little shopping complex looking for something to buy, and maybe I don't have the best priced Japanese pack, but it's an affordable pack where the market isn't just gutting them, you know. It doesn't squeeze them so hard when they pay $3.50, $4 for a Japanese pack and they just buy it, right? Me putting that online, it's not going to sell, you know. They're going to be like, well, I can just get a booster box for $50, $60, and absolutely they can. But in person, there is a level of a service that is provided for them. They have a place to sit down. They have the environment that they're around in. There's upfront costs. There's friendly faces. There's advice. There's like a whole thing. I even do something as simple as this. I make sure to carry gum. That's been my newest thing. I carry gum with me when I'm doing it, right? Obviously, one, for myself, but two, I realize that a lot of the people who come in are nervous, right? They don't want to deal with the sales aspects of things. And there's a lot of hard sales that comes in with, these high-end cards. So one of the things I do to break the ice, it's really simple, and it's not meant to take advantage or anything like that. It's simply to make them feel more comfortable, is I take a piece of gum, I put it in my mouth, and I go, hey man, thanks for coming in. You want a piece of gum? I give them a piece of gum, and instantly that barrier that they had, it starts to come down already. Right? There's a value to that. They're now comfortable. We get to introduce each other properly. He tells me what he's interested in, and there's a connection. When that connection is formed, it makes buying product from me something that is a more personable experience. Online doesn't exist, right? Online, you're at the mercy of the market. You're at, can you get it and can you make money? And that's ultimately all it is. Most people who buy from online very, very rarely will be like, hey dude, I got this, and show it to me, right? It does happen. There's been a couple people who show me what they got, and it's really exciting, but it's not the same as when they rip it in the store and I see it right then and there. That's super exciting. So number 6, what do you miss, if anything, about just trading or collecting Pokemon cards casually? Like I said, the excitement of pulling a card and kind of just embracing it as my own, because even when I pull a card myself, there is this two wolves situation I find myself in, where on one side, I guess the devil and the angel in this case, but on one side I'm saying just keep the card for myself, right? This is mine. I'm gonna hoard it. I got it. And sometimes I do. The other side is saying, hey, move the unit. This is the right decision. Put it in the store. When you're just collecting and trading, you don't have to worry about that. I don't have to sit there and really struggle. Am I going to get rid of my Gengar? This is out of my personal collection, and I'm struggling on whether I keep this or not. Do I just get rid of it to cover it, right? I don't want to. It's a sick card. As a vendor, you have to make those decisions, and it is taxing on you. Then you do think. It's almost like the greed gets to you, right? And I try not to let it, but I'm like, okay, I can keep it and enjoy it, or I can use it to promote the business. And you have to make a choice. It's almost like the business becomes the collector, and you take a backseat. It's like your child. You give your child everything, right? So it's rough. I'm not gonna lie. So that's one of the hard things about doing this is watching product that you intended to keep go on the shelf. How do you handle customer education in person versus writing online descriptions? So when it comes to online descriptions, most of the time the consumer is aware of what they're looking at, and I don't really have to worry about it. I'll just go and basically copy paste whatever's on the Pokemon Center of the description of the item. I'll adjust what's necessary, but that's about it. When it comes to in person, there's a lot of people who casually just walk in and they go, oh, I just like that one, and they don't know anything about Pokemon. They're just looking, right? The place that I work at, the general building is not just Pokemon. There's clothing, there's Labubus, which is getting really huge right now. There's Star Wars props, replicas. There's like a thrift store right next to us, basically. Classic video games. One part of it has, Warhammer figurines that you can paint and stuff. There's a lot going on. And so what happens is you have a lot of crossover. And not everyone's into Pokemon, as much as most of us are. And so they just come over and they just go, oh, that's a cute one. What's that one from? And I have to educate them. What is this? Why is this important, right? It happens all the time, actually, and I wasn't expecting that. I thought that there'd be a lot more just people, I'm here for the one card, but that's not the case. You actually are kind of like a tour of Pokemon, and it's up to you as a vendor to provide an experience. Again, an experience is big here. An experience for the customer to go, oh, I want to get into this, right? One of my first customers wasn't actually my customer originally. It was Danny's, and I was working on building the venue up, and they're over there talking, and she's struggling whether she buys a 151 pack or not. And the reason why is because she doesn't collect Pokemon, right? And I go, well, what did you experience as a kid? And we got into it and we talked about it. I went, yeah, you could buy the cheaper pack, but that cheaper pack doesn't have many Pokemon that you're familiar with. Or you can get 151, which is a reintroduction to the new way Pokemon works, and get something classic that you recognize. So she ends up buying it, and she gets, I think it was the Nidoking IR, which is pretty cool. And that was it. It was hooked up right there, right? Done. Now she's come back many times, become a regular at our store, you know, buys Stellar Crown, we'll buy some older packs, but she's not really into looking for those big hits. She just wants to find cool, cute Pokemon. And she showed me her binder. She went and bought another one from another guy who I recommended. Very cool experience. So customer education is a big factor in this. And I think a lot of people struggle with that because they expect the customer to just know everything. And that's not the case with vending in person. All right, number 8. Do you find expo traffic more consistent or more volatile than online sales trends? Yes and no. So in person is more consistent by far in foot traffic and viewers, right? But not everyone is there to buy. And if they do buy, you would expect them to buy more, but a lot do not. They will go and buy like a couple packs, maybe a card. A lot of it's kind of smaller amounts, right? Online sales, if they find a good price, they buy them all. A lot of people will just buy them all. And maybe that's a condition of the market where they, you know, they have a sense of FOMO because they find a good deal on something. So they just won't go ahead and, you know, purchase out the entire stock. In person, not the case. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much it with that one. Pretty short and simple. How has having a booth changed your view of the overall TCG market? I've noticed with the booth, the interest are primarily off of the most current set. I did Journey Together and I did Prismatic as the most current, and we've already been getting a lot of requests over the Glory of Team Rocket. So whatever's in season, the hot packs, that's what people are coming in for, and they may occasionally buy something else. But overall, it is definitely 70% of the consumers who come in with the intent to buy cards and not just browsing are looking for the newest sets, and they will pay a premium. There are some people who overprice a lot of their items and will sell them because they purchase those items knowing that the consumer is looking for them and will pay that. Right? So what do I mean by this? They will go onto like eBay and purchase, you know, a case of, we'll say, Journey Together ETBs, and they'll spend $110, right? Back when it first came out. And they'll put up for $120. They're only making $10 off an ETB, but they'll get cleared out. And maybe I'm a little exaggerated. Maybe it's more like they spend like $80 in ETB and put it up for $90 type of thing. But the point being is that if you're the first to have the new set in your hand, it's the first to go out on your store in the expo. Whereas online sales, it kind of varies. A lot of people are, you know, I think it's because a wider, you know, base of fans. A lot of people would be like, oh, cool, a Fusion Strike. Oh, cool, a, you know, Evolving Skies. Oh, cool, Prismatic, you know. It just kind of depends on what that individual's looking for online. It's a lot more, if you have it, they'll come. But in the stores, if you don't have it, they'll leave. Like, I hope that makes sense. You want to have the most current stuff. Number 10, what kind of pressure, financial and other, comes from being in a physical store? This is okay. From being in a physical storefront, this is huge. Your shelves have to be full. So when you're in there and you're looking at your inventory and it spreads really thin, right? Like if you don't have a lot, like a case can easily be filled with like $3,000 of inventory, and it could be like, I don't know, a 4-foot case, right? So you can have like $3,000 in there, right? But a lot of these booths are 10 by 20, 20 by 20, right? So all of a sudden you realize real quick, oh, I need like $13,000 of inventory in the store. And if you don't have it, it starts to look really, really like dim and not stocked. And a lot of people will not come in as much because they just look over and go, oh, they probably don't have anything. Even if you have great stuff, if it's too spread out, it doesn't look good. So it kind of forces you financially to be more hungry for product, and you have to buy wherever you can. So a lot of us are working together, but it's like, you know, it's rough. You have to spend the money to make money in this case. Whereas an online store, not the case. You can have 5 items, and if they're good items, people will buy them. But in physical stores, you want it to look good. All right, and we have one more question before we kind of do the outro. So this is a big one. This one gets asked actually quite often. 11. What's it like being surrounded by like-minded vendors, and how can someone like me get into it too? So with this one, it's pretty cool because the other vendors, like I said earlier, are fantastic. Everyone there is extremely nice. I was expecting it to be kind of like a high pressure, you know, cutthroat environment. Not the case at all. Everyone's got each other's backs. If I don't have a card or they're looking for a card and I have it, we're communicating. I'll walk them over. They'll walk them over to me. Me and Danny are on top of it that way. And we have great relations with our neighbor, and it's great. I love it, actually. Everyone, super fantastic. But how can someone like me get into the scene, which is what I get asked? It's hard right now. It's super hard because all of the vendors ultimately are feeding from the same trough, which is the customer coming in, and we're all kind of competing against each other with the same stuff. It's brutal. The short answer to that is you either have to be extremely charismatic and have like good friendships with everyone where you can pull favors and work with each other, like, hey, I'm really good at doing this, and you can provide it for them, and they'll hook you up with something in return and give you a deal or whatever, you know, rub each other's back type of thing. Or you have to have so much product that you already have. You have to be willing to sacrifice like 30,000 to get started. And this is just for a permanent booth. This is not even a full-blown brick and mortar store. We're just talking about Pokemon cards. You have to have like 30,000 market, you know, value to get really started and be good at this. Because you need to have stuff to trade out, to get stuff in. Because one of the best tips I've gotten through all of this from another vendor is remember that this is a trading card game. If you say, no, I don't want that product, what's that person going to do? They're going to walk out. They're going to go to the right. They're going to go to your friend over here. Let's say his name's Jim. They're going to go to Jim. Jim's going to say, sure, I'll take that product. He's going to take something he's had on his shelf at home for 10 years that he never intended to actually sell. So they go, yep, trade. What happens is that consumer leaves happy. Next time they come in, they go see Jim. They don't see you. So you have to buy. You have to trade some of your older stuff to make sure that it actually, you know, works out in the long run. It's rough. And with that, guys, that's pretty much the Q&A. It wasn't too crazy. I just wanted to kind of give you a little rough, you know, breakdown of what I've been going through, what it's like being a vendor, what you can expect if you try to become a vendor, what it's like for the community. Overall, an awesome experience. Would I go back to just being an online card sales guy? No, to be honest, no. I will always have a presence here in YouTube as long as you guys want me to be here and that, you know, things are still moving. I'll be doing this, and I'll always have the online store open. Remember, you can check it out down in the description down below. We have that all set up, and I do a rotation where whatever comes into the store that I trade in, right, I put on the site. You guys get it at a better rate most of the time because I got it at a better rate than what you'd see on TCG Player, and I push the product out. And that's kind of like my little service back to you for supporting me in this venture. But would I do that solely? Not if I have a choice not to. I really like having an in-person spot. It's pretty cool, even though it takes up all of my time. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and sign off of this video. My throat is starting to kill me. I don't know if you guys have noticed. It's starting to dry out. So I'm going to go get a drink. I'm going to start editing. And I really appreciate you if you stayed this long in the video. If you have any comments, you have any questions, you want to follow up on this video, you want some examples of what I was talking about, some stories, leave it down below. I'll give you an answer, and maybe I'll do a follow-up video on it. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.